and the weekend, but it does look like quite an unsettled weather picture with rain and showers knocking around. Marianne.
Chris, thank you very much indeed. And that's all from me and the team on News at 1. You can, as always, keep up with all the latest developments on the BBC website. And of course, the news continues here on BBC One, as now it's time to join our colleagues in the nations and regions for the news where you are. Goodbye.
Welcome to BBC Newsline. Almost £1 billion worth of peace funding for Northern Ireland has been officially launched. It's coming from the UK, Ireland and the EU. European Commission Vice President Maroš Šefčovič flew into Belfast today for the announcement. The UK government is contributing more than $700 million to the fund. Our economics editor John Campbell is here. Did we know about this money?
We certainly did. We can go back as far as January of 2018, and at that point the EU committed to continue the funding of peace projects in Northern Ireland after Brexit. So that was in the EU's budget. A lot of work has happened since then, and this scheme has actually been up and running for some time now. It is also worth mentioning that, as you say, that the vast bulk of the money comes from the UK government. So although it's an EU-run scheme, most of the money comes from the UK.
Remind us where this money goes. What type of projects?
Well, since 1998, the EU has been funding various peace projects, cross-community projects in Northern Ireland. This latest version of peace funding will go on things like youth mental health, rural health projects, cross-border transport, and also some environmental projects. So a broad range of themes which really coincide with various EU priorities.
Now, I mentioned that Maroš Šefčovič is in town, and while he was here, you took the opportunity to ask about the Windsor framework, which of course is causing all the problems up at Stormont. What did he have to say on that? Is there any chance of making changes?
Yeah, so the DUP, as we know, are not happy with the Windsor framework. They're continuing to talk to the UK government about the circumstances in which they might return to Stormont. You know, some people may be speculating, is there more that the EU could do to help on that score? But Maroš Šefčovič is very clear that as far as the EU is concerned, the Windsor framework is as good as it gets.
Windsor framework is excellent agreement. We've been working very, very closely with UK government. For us, it was a definite solution to all outstanding issues, and indeed we saw that it got also overwhelming support in a UK Parliament. And I think that we clearly have delivered on what we promised, that we would listen to the worries, to the concerns, how the protocol is impacting the daily lives of the people in the Northern Ireland, and I think that we provided the best possible answer to all outstanding issues.
Maroš Šefčovič there, and tonight on the programme at 6:30 we'll also hear from the Taoiseach and from the Secretary of State.
They were all in town. Thank you very much for that, John Campbell, for now. Well, thousands of people have attended the funeral of Conor Brown, who died after he was stabbed outside a County Tyrone pub 9 days ago. The 28-year-old father of one died last Monday. 2 men are in custody charged with his murder. Claire Graham has this report.
Cars lined the roads surrounding St Francis of Assisi Church on the outskirts of Castlederg. Hundreds of mourners had arrived early, but hundreds more travelled behind the hearse as it made the short journey from the family home. 2 screens were erected in the church grounds for the large numbers of people who arrived. Father Paul Fraser said Conor Brown was an amazing person who was always smiling.
Conor didn't know the meaning of the word that we often use, the religious divide. In his mind, there was no division. So he's a friend to all, and he treated everybody equally. And as a community, we gathered on Wednesday and again today to show the Brown family that they don't have to bear this burden alone. We know that if there were more people like Conor in this community, it would be a better place.
A number of items which represented Conor were presented during the Requiem Mass. A picture with his young son Kobe, a crucifix he'd made for his granny, her blue-eyed boy, and symbols to show his love for driving and his love for life. Mourners travelled from Australia and America to be there to remember the life of Conor Brown. He'll be buried in the graveyard beside the church. 2 men charged with Mr Brown's murder remain in custody. Claire Graham, BBC Newsline.
A man in his 60s has died following a crash on the Northway in Portadown. It happened when the motorcycle he was riding collided with a silver Mercedes car around 2 o'clock yesterday afternoon. The road was closed for several hours but has since reopened. Police are investigating a fire at a block of flats in the Aldervale area of Craigavon yesterday. It resulted in 3 people being taken to hospital. Our South East reporter Cormac Campbell has more.
The fire was reported just before 10:50 p.m. last night. It's thought it had been started deliberately in the ground floor hallway of the block of flats in the Aldervale area. After arriving on the scene, officers from the Northern Ireland Fire and Rescue Service brought the fire under control and evacuated residents. 3 people were taken to hospital for treatment for smoke inhalation. A number of others were then offered temporary accommodation. Police remained at the scene today as investigations began to establish what happened. Cormac Campbell, BBC Newsline, Craigavon.
A house in East Belfast was hit with a petrol bomb while 3 people were inside last night. Police have said the property in Epworth Street was attacked shortly before 11 o'clock. Damage was caused to the front windows, but no one was injured. In sport, former Derry's senior men's Gaelic football manager Rory Gallagher has been temporarily banned from the GAA. He stepped back from his Derry role in May after allegations of domestic abuse by his estranged wife Nicola on social media. Mr Gallagher said the claims had been investigated and dealt with by the relevant authorities. Ulster GAA asked an independent panel to investigate those claims. Now, following reports Gallagher has been coaching with Monaghan club Corduff, Ulster GAA issued a statement confirming the temporary ban while the investigation continues. Well, it was another defeat for Northern Ireland in the Euro qualifiers with a 1-0 loss to Kazakhstan in Astana. Now let's see what the week of weather has in store. Jeff has the details. Hello.
Hello, good afternoon to you. Well, it was good while it lasted, wasn't it? That beautiful stolen week of summer to start the autumn season off, but the change is definitely with us today. We had a little bit of rain through this morning, but the good news is that the front that brought us that rain has cleared out to the south and east, and through this afternoon we will see some clearing skies, and with the sunshine we'll see temperatures up to highs of 16 to 18 Celsius. So it should be a decent end to the day with some evening brightness, and then we've got the clearer air, the cooler air sitting over us. So with clear skies tonight, it means that the temperatures will drop away. A much more comfortable night. We'll see those overnight lows down into single figures for many of us, 9 or 10 degrees below what we were used to last week. Now, for tomorrow, we've got a little bit of high pressure building in. It'll mean some bright and sunny conditions. So you might look out the window and think, oh, that's just like last week, until you step outside the door and feel the difference in the temperatures. Again, highs of 16 or 18 degrees because we are into that cooler air, but it will be a very nice day. Enjoy it. On Wednesday, we have the next weather front arriving, starting dry and bright, but then clouding over, the breeze freshening up, and then the rain moving in from the west through the evening and the overnight period. So the outlook for the week ahead, it's not as good as last week, obviously, but those temperatures returning to something a little bit more normal during the daytimes, and importantly, much more comfortable in terms of those nighttime temperatures.
Now, a signed summary of the news with Richard Beattie. More than €1 billion in peace funding for Northern Ireland has been officially launched in Belfast. European Commission Vice President Maroš Šefčovič flew in for the announcement. The UK government is contributing more than $700 million to the fund. Thousands of people have attended the funeral of Conor Browne, who died after he was stabbed outside a County Tyrone pub. The 28-year-old father of 1 died last Monday. 2 men are in custody charged with his murder. A man in his 60s has died following a crash on the Northway in Portadown. It happened when the motorcycle he was riding collided with a car yesterday afternoon. And police say they believe a fire at a block of flats in Craigavon yesterday evening was started deliberately. 3 people were treated in hospital for smoke inhalation. And that's it for now. BBC Newsline will be back at 6:30 here on BBC One. Bye-bye.